Okay. Hi, Miss Fisher. This is me presenting me and Ben's project. Um, Hopefully, you'll have gotten the email that I sent you before I turn this in. Reload. Um, but anyways, I'm going to read me and Ben's slide because Ben is unable to today. Affirmative action, the great equalizer. Ben, my dad, a Mexican American, was the first in his family to go to college. He knew little about the admissions process as he was applying, and he was likely aided by affirmative action as he got into Loyola Marymount University, the only college he applied to. Ben, he proved to be more than qualified for the college as he later went to Harvard Business and Harvard Law School. If he had never gone to LMU simply because he didn't have the same help with college admissions as other students, he probably wouldn't be as successful as he is today. Affirmative action has thus not only impacted him, but also me and my brothers who plan on continuing the line of successful Mexican Americans who have stories that fight back against racist viewpoints still held by many Americans today. Uh, Santi, affirmative action, why is it wrong? Affirmative action creates an unequal application process and forces schools to accept less qualified candidates for the sake of diversity. I do not support the elite educational institutions of America ignoring the merit-based system that the college application process maintains. Um, Affirmative action and the 14th Amendment. Santi. Affirmative action violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. The Equal Protection Clause guarantees every person the right to be treated equally by the state, without regard to race. Using race as a factor in college admissions is reverse racism and should be viewed as such. Discrimination against minorities in the past does not justify discrimination against non-minorities in modern day. As the 14th Amendment states, all are equal in the eyes of the state and should be treated as equal. Um, Affirmative action, meritocracy, Santi. The use of affirmative action in college admissions has denied millions of Americans the right to an unbiased meritocracy. It puts white and Asian students at a disadvantage by using race as a factor to decide admission. The idea of a meritocracy is defeated when better qualified students with higher test scores are denied admission based on their race and not their academic merit. Diversity and affirmative action, Ben. On the other hand, affirmative action means a more diverse campus, which results in a more enriching learning experience for students. The president of Columbia College, Lee Bollinger, argues empirical studies have demonstrated that exposure to a culturally diverse campus community environment has a positive impact on students with respect to their critical thinking, enjoyment of reading and writing, and intellectual curiosity. Exposure to the members and viewpoints of different communities force students to think about all material in a broader scope rather than just how it affects and those immediately around them. College is about broadening horizons and learning about things that aren't obvious. In this way, affirmative action benefits every college applicant. Ben continued. If colleges only accept students who can check off the boxes from the list of activities their college counselor told them to do, then students will only be exposed to others from a small sector of society that has similar backgrounds. One of the main goals of college admissions offices is to make sure that students who attend their school have the best possible experience and be able to grow both academically and as a person. For this to happen, college must actively try to have a diverse campus for the betterment of students' education. In fact, colleges are obligated to create a diverse campus for the students to thrive and best learn about the world around them. Santi. Diversity and affirmative action. Rebuttal. It is often argued that affirmative action supports a strong educational benefit in diversity. However, not much can be proved to support this point. There is no evidence of the academic benefit of affirmative action in colleges in America. Although it does help colleges achieve racial diversity, it cannot be proved that racial diversity promotes diversity of opinion. The goal of many academic institutions is to maintain diversity of thought and opinion within their student body. Using race to give an advantage to applicants, you are overlooking individuality of thought. A fair fix to centuries of injustice, Ben. While some may believe a meritocracy comes in the form of colorblind admissions, this is not the case. Hundreds of years of racism have led to the system that automatically helps certain groups get into better colleges and lead easier lives. This is emphasized by the message from the Catholic Church in the pastoral Economic Justice for All, which asserts judiciously administered affirmative action programs in education and employment can be important expressions of the drive for solidarity and participation that is at the heart of true justice. This is because many of the groups that affirmative action benefits are poorer and come from communities that don't place emphasis on getting into college while also having to deal with racism in their daily lives. This could be due to unfair laws such as those introduced by the war on drugs that disproportionately affected Latino and Black communities. Whites and Asians don't have better applications because they are just better candidates for the schools, but rather it is because the community they grew up in made college a priority, or their parents had the money to pay for the best college advisors and tutors. Ben. As stated by Stanford psychologist Greg Walton, those stereotypes act as psychological headwind. They cause people to perform worse. If you base your evaluation of candidates just on performance in settings that are biased, you end up discriminating. Students who have been stereotyped as dumb by television and other forms of media throughout their entire life will not have as much access as those who have been encouraged academically, such as whites and Asians. Furthermore, according to the USCCB's pastoral letter on racism, finally, racism is sometimes apparent in the growing sentiment that too much is given to racial minorities by way of affirmative action programs or allocations to redress long-standing imbalances in minority representation and government-funded programs for the disadvantaged. The Catholic Church believes this because opposing affirmative action would be the same as trying to uphold systems of racism made to oppress minorities. Affirmative action is absolutely necessary because there's no fairness in rejecting a student that would have gone if they could afford the same tutors as others, or if there hadn't been prejudice against their race. Additionally, students of Latino and African American households are far more likely to be first-generation college students. According to PNPI, 42% of Black students and 48% of Hispanic students were first-generation students, compared to 28% of white students. This means they have less educated parents and less information about the college application process as a whole. Ronald Brownstein, a senior political analyst for CNN, asserts, "This sorting matters so much because more selective institutions spend much more money per student and produce better results for them on every important measure, from graduation rates to starting salaries. For example, college graduates make more than double, 133% more than non-college graduates in California. Getting into a better college usually means having a better life. Affirmative action must be in place to keep the eternal struggle for a better life by fighting against the systematic racism that has plagued certain minority communities for years. The circle of poverty started with slavery, immigration, and today racism is evident by the average salary of Latino and Blacks being far lower than whites and Asians. But affirmative action is a step in equaling out unbalance between the races." What to do going forward? There are still many questions to be answered. Should certain races get more help from affirmative action than others? For instance, should African Americans get more aid than Latino Americans? I would say absolutely. And the distinction should be made by research that records exactly how racism towards different races affects academic competitiveness. Another important issue to assess is what do we do as society changes? It would seem obvious that society is less racist now than when affirmative action first came into place. These are clearly still reasons to have affirmative action, but in the future, could these reasons become smaller factors? As systematic racism slowly erodes in society, so should affirmative action. That was Ben's slide, by the way. Pops, I'm in the middle of something. Um, sorry. This is Ben's slide. I propose that the current affirmative action should be a complex algorithm. The most weighted factor should be race because there's factors and prejudices that affect people's grades and test scores. It should also include things like crime rates in a person's neighborhood, graduation rates at college attendance, and college attendance rates at their high school, and the races of people in their high school. Thank you.